We're here in the West Hills of California to bring you a tragic story that happened back in 2000. One that involved a kidnapping that turned to murder, and one that would inspire the movie Alpha Dog. Just a few houses up from us right now is the home of where a guy named Jesse James Hollywood lived. Now, he grew up in this area with his mom and dad. They were wealthy people. Moved to Colorado for a bit to try to open up a restaurant business, but that didn't work out, so they came back here. Jesse in school played sports, baseball. He did start taking supplements basically to increase his muscle, and kind of became a little bit more violent, I guess you would say.
Steroids.
He did get into an issue, I think his sophomore year, with a teacher. Ended up getting expelled from that high school and had to transfer to another high school, Calabasas, I believe, high school. Anyway, his dad was a drug dealer, and Jesse James Hollywood basically took over or started working under dad, whatever that may be. But he started his own drug business and recruited friends. Basically, the friends were buying from him and they were also selling. Now, if the friends would take drugs to go sell and wouldn't bring enough money back for him, they ultimately became servants. And he treated them pretty bad.
Hit me up, cuz. I'm like, what up, cuz? Straight ran my ass over, bounced on hydraulic 27 times. That's why I'm a little bit up right now, cuz.
Right there?
That's why I'm a little bit up right now.
Shit.
But sir, bounced on me 27 times, I'm still alive, cuz. Hit that up.
Because you're drinking too, right?
Alright, get the camera away from me, cuz.
At 19 years old, he had earned enough money to buy himself a house.
That must be nice.
And this is it coming up right here. This is where he lived.
So this is the house he bought.
I'm assuming this is the only address I could find for Jesse James Hollywood. So this has either got to be the house he bought or the house he lived in with his parents. But needless to say, he still lived here.
It's a nice neighborhood too.
Now, within this neighborhood was another family, the Markowitz family. And they had a child he was 15. His name was Nick.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick had two older half-siblings, Ben and a sister. I can't remember her name, but Ben is kind of more relevant to our story.
Right.
Ben actually played ball with Jesse James Hollywood. They were friends. And Ben was like a part of the drug scene, selling. Well, Ben actually owed Jesse James Hollywood $1,200. And really, like, all the rest of them were scared of him. Like, if they owed him money, they were terrified. But Ben was not like that. Ben was like, you're not scaring me, whatever. I don't care. You're not getting your money. And it kind of started a war between the two of them. Like, Jesse and his girlfriend showed up at Ben's girlfriend's place of work, a restaurant, and ran up a tab and left without paying and said, just take this as off of what Ben owes me. And then at that, Ben retaliated back and ruined an insurance scam that Jesse was running, where he would report cars stolen that he owned, and he would, get the insurance money.
Right.
Well, he messed one of those up, and he also came over and busted out several windows of his house. So, needless to say, Jesse James was like, yo, I got to get bent back. He has all these other people scared of him.
Yeah.
And then you have this one guy that's like, I'm not paying you.
Yeah.
So he's kind of got to...
Obviously, if he's retaliating back, he definitely is not scared of you.
Yeah, he's got to do something probably. He's like, or these other guys are going to start thinking they can't pay me my money too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it kind of leads us to Ben's younger brother, Nick, becoming involved in this whole thing. It's reported that Nick was a kind, soft-spoken teenage boy, really didn't like playing sports. He was preparing to take his driver test, but at 15, he started to rebel a little bit and experiment with marijuana and Valium. Well, the night of August 5th, Nick comes home and he appears high to his parents. But instead of them getting into a knockdown, drag-out fight that night, they decide, let's sleep on it and we'll approach him and talk to him in the morning. Well, the next day comes and Nick is not there. He's gone. He, dipped out to avoid the fight. So he is walking along the road whenever Jesse James Hollywood and two of his friends see him, because they have left in a van and they're trying to find Nick's older brother, Ben, to basically make him pay for the money he owes. But they can't find Ben. So they see Nick and they're like, well, there's option two. That's his little brother.
Take the kid.
So it's Jesse. It's another friend named Jesse Ruge, or Rugi, something like that, and William Skidmore. Those are the three in the van. So Jesse James Hollywood sits in the van and sends the other two out to basically take Nick. It's reported that couldn't exactly find an address for where the Markowitzes lived, but I know it's somewhere in this general area. Now, I found two different locations that was a possibility of where they actually took Nick from. One was the Lazy J Ranch Park, but another person that I had read dismissed that location and said, no, in fact, it was an intersection, which would be where we're walking up to now. And they reported that it was here at Platt and what's that sign say?
Saticoy, Saticoy, Saticoy.
That he was actually taken, that the van pulled up, the two boys jumped out, started hitting and kicking Nick, and threw him into the van and took off. Now, there were two witnesses that saw this happen and phoned police. One was a woman named Pauline Maloney. She had her kids with her. Now, she didn't have a cell phone at the time, so she started repeating the license plate tag over and over again until she got back home and called the police and reported what she saw. Now, it got coded wrong. Whenever they coded it, they coded it as an assault, not a kidnapping. So when the police got here and they didn't find anybody, that was it. It's done.
There ain't nobody here that's getting assaulted, so you might as well go on about your business.
Right. So another lady called it in, and she did not have the license plate number. She just reported what she saw and said that a boy was thrown into a white van. And ultimately, since they didn't have the tag, the police were not able to locate a white van, and they did not put two and two together.
Got
So this is it. This is
a lot
where
of that good police work.
this is where he would have been taken from. After Nick had been grabbed and put in the van, he was initially told why they took him, because of his brother. So he starts freaking out. Well, they didn't want that to happen. So they gave him drugs and alcohol. And after a little bit, Nick was okay with it. He was like, I'm going to ride this out. I love my brother. And I'm going to do this for him. Like, I'm cool with it. We'll just see where this goes. So they pick up another guy and they head to Santa Barbara for Fiesta. Now, while they're in Santa Barbara, Nick gets taken between a couple of different houses. One of them being Jesse Rugi's house. Now, I was able to locate from one photo online of his home, and it said Cassiano Drive. I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced.
Cassiano.
And then I found it's located on the 700 block. That's it. So we had to take that old photograph, and with the help of a neighbor, we were able to locate Jesse's house where Nick was held.
So this house right here, 780 Cassiano Drive.
If you look in the old photograph, you can see a sidewalk running kind of hidden off to the side of the garage. The tree in the photograph, and just over the garage you can see the top of this yellow house over here to the side of it. Now, like I said, he would have been taken here and a couple of other different places, but needless to say, the days they had him was a nonstop party. Because they didn't have a plan. They didn't do this on purpose. They were looking for Ben, and when they couldn't find Ben, Nick was the next option. So when they grabbed him, they're like, what do we do? Like, what are we doing? We have no plan. We don't know what to do with this kid. Let's just party with him until we figure it out. This would have also been the house that they would have come back to get the shovels for later on whenever they decided what they were going to do with him. While Nick was left with Jesse Rugi, Jesse James leaves. He's got to talk to somebody. He needs to figure this out. So he actually goes and consults with a lawyer friend, and he's like, some of my friends took a kid. What would be the worst case scenario that happens to them? And the lawyer's like, well, you know, if they hurt him or they demand money, that's like life in prison. So he's like, I don't want to have nothing to do with this kid. I need to erase the fact that I took him. I don't want to call the cops. I just want him gone. And ultimately, he recruits a friend to do his dirty work. On August 8th, Jesse Rugi would rent a room here at the Lemon Tree Inn. Room 341 to be exact. Now this room was, they dubbed it basically Nick's last party, because it was Nick's impression that he would be going home, and that's what they told everybody.
Right.
In the morning, Nick's leaving, he's going home.
Yeah.
And like Nick had already seen so many people, like people loved him. They were like, he's just a sweet kid, you know. So while they were here getting the party started, Jesse James Hollywood actually approached another guy by the name of Ryan Hoyt, who owed him money also. And he was always like eager to do anything basically to pay his...
You gotta work that debt off.
Yeah, he wanted to work the debt off. And he's like, look, we got a problem, we got an issue, and I need you to take care of it. And he was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it for you. So Jesse James applied Hoyt with a Tech 9 pistol that, from my understanding, had been modified to be able to shoot like 12 rounds within seconds. Yeah, so that was what was going down this whole night of this last party.
I mean, yeah, you gotta tell him that, you know, he's gonna go home the next day, because otherwise, if he knows anything's up, if he's even remotely suspicious, then you run the risk of, while nobody's paying attention, him slipping out and...
Or him telling somebody at the party.
Yeah.
And then them alerting somebody.
Exactly.
Because these people knew him as, like, what do they call him? Like the taken kid or the stolen kid or something like that. Like, everybody knew that he had been kidnapped.
Yeah.
But they were like, it's cool because he's not in any danger and he's having fun. So nobody really did anything about it.
Yeah.
Around 11 p.m. that night, when the party was in full swing, well, Rugi would tell everyone, you need to leave because somebody's on their way to take Nick home. So the party cleared out, and Ryan Hoyt would arrive and pick up Rugi, and the two of them go back to Rugi's house to grab some shovels. Now, they came back here to basically, like, he was like, I need somewhere kind of secluded or whatever to be able to do this deed.
Right.
And Rugi was like, I don't know anywhere. You need to ask Graham Priestley, which is who they left Nick here with at the hotel while they went to grab the shovels. So they get back here, and Graham Priestley is threatened with the gun. And he's like, you're going to tell me where we go. So they went off on the trail, and Graham Priestley was there forced to dig the grave that they would use later that night.
Huh.
So then they get back here to the hotel, and they grab Rugi and Nick that are sitting here, telling Nick, you know, he's going home, you know, we're taking you back, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
All this kind of stuff, just filling his head with hope.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, because, I mean, you don't want to tell him, like, hey, we're about to take you up on this mountain and do away with you and bury your body.
Right.
That would get him a little spooky, and he'd probably be more apt to hopefully put up a fight if you were told that.
So here
or
it
at least
is.
try to attempt to run.
This is the room.
341.
Right inside here is basically where they would have had Nick's last party. Where he would have been before they made him make that climb.
Dang.
So this is what the trail looks like that actually gets to the point where they would have taken Nick.
Ooh, a little windy up here at the top of this lizard mouth rock.
After leaving the Lemon Tree Inn, the boys would have drove probably about 30 minutes, I would say, down a very, very windy road. And then Rugi and Hoyt would make Nick come with them to where they had dug the shallow grave on a trail called Lizard's Mouth Trail. And it is alleged that Rugi told Nick, you know I'm not going to hurt you, right? And he said, I know. And Rugi then proceeded to tie Nick's hands, put duct tape over his mouth and eyes, and then Hoyt hit him with a shovel and pulled out the gun and shot him 9 times until the clip jammed, killing him instantly.
I think it did 1 or 2.
Well, you know, I told you it was a modified gun that shot 12 in a second.
Yeah. So he probably just squeezed once, fired all 9
So
off.
he fell back into the shallow grave. They covered him with dirt and twigs. Now, it's reported that Rugi got nauseous and sick after Nick fell back into the grave, And it's also reported that Hoyt just basically kind of stood there and stared at him like, look at my handiwork type thing. But Nick was found, I think it was 4 days later, by some hikers up here. And this is no easy trail.
No, definitely not. I mean, it's a good place to hide, try to hide a body, but it's so rocky, you ain't digging nothing deep nowhere up here. So
We're going to show you the view. And I mean, it is a beautiful view, but horrible thing that happened here.
yeah. Good view. But horrible that he had to get killed up here.
Made it to Eden Memorial Park to find the final resting place of Nick Markowitz. Now, after Nick's body was discovered, a lot of people that he met, like at these social gatherings they had, came forward. And so police were able to make arrests in his murder. Jesse Ruge was arrested, convicted, but he was released from prison in 2013. Now, Ryan Hoyt, he was arrested and got the death penalty. William Skidmore, he was released in 2009. And Graham Presley, well, since he was 17 at the time, he went to like a juvenile facility and he was released in 2007. Now let's talk about the mastermind behind it all, if you will. Jesse James Hollywood.
The brain. He wasn't Pinky, he was the brain.
Whenever Hoyt got arrested, Hollywood ran and he went to Canada. There, he got a fake passport saying he was a Canadian resident. And then from there, he jumped to Brazil. Now, he went to Brazil because there was another fugitive that had gone to Brazil before and had a child with a Brazilian woman. And police were not able to like extradite him because of that. He was protected.
That's smart.
So Jesse James was like, I'm going to do the same thing. So he went there. He created this identity for himself, like got a job as hanging like posters for clubs, was a dog walker, anything to earn money. But most of his money was coming from his father that was sending him a $1,200 stipend because his father helped him run. So did an ex-girlfriend and I think a godfather that he had. He met a woman, she got pregnant, and he did in fact have a child. But he was there under false pretenses. He was not, like, he had that fake Canada passport. So that was like, that messed him up right there. So they were able to get him. They set him up. They knew he was supposed to meet like a cousin or something. Right. And instead, an agent was able to arrest him in 2005. Now, he sat in prison for a while before he went to trial. In the meantime, you have Alpha Dog come out. Alpha Dog premiered in 2006. And from what I read, Alpha Dog was 90% truth to that movie, 10% Hollywood.
Not a bad ratio compared to some other true event stories, you know.
So he was able to use Alpha Dog saying, oh, well, this is going to basically mess up my trial.
Yeah, people aren't going to have sympathy. They're going to believe the movie, yeah.
So his trial basically got pushed off to 2009. Like, he didn't get sentenced until July 15th, 2009. And he got sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Look, he didn't get the death penalty.
Well, they thought about it. That was something they had contemplated, but they were like, we don't want to give him that. We want to give him life in prison. Now, whenever all the Alpha Dog movie stuff started coming out, he was in prison signing letters as the Alpha Dog. And he was like going on there saying there was going to be like an Alpha Dog world tour or something like that.
Wow. Yeah, from what, prison? Can't do a world tour from prison unless you're like Skyping in. Get him a couple Zoom meetings.
A Santa Barbara judge has sentenced Jesse James Hollywood to life in prison without the possibility of parole after denying his request for a new trial. Hollywood was found guilty of first-degree murder in July. Prosecutors say he planned the kidnapping and killing of 15-year-old Nick Markowitz back in August of 2000. It was all over a drug debt owed by the teen's half-brother. 30-year-old Hollywood had faced the death penalty, but jurors recommended a life sentence instead. Now, the case inspired the 2007 movie Alpha Dog, starring Justin Timberlake. Hollywood's attorneys claimed he did not have a fair trial because of that pretrial publicity. 4 others were convicted in the case. Santa Barbara County Sheriff Bill Brown released this statement regarding today's sentencing. He said, "Today's sentence finally concludes a long and very tragic case. We hope it brings some measure of closure to the Markowitz family."
Now here's Nick's final resting place. 15 years old, just shy of his 16th birthday. Step softly, a dream lies here. Sweet dreams, Nick. And then it's got his picture. It looks like a picture of him and his mom. It says, "Mommy's gift from God, such euphoria and devastation in a lifetime. A son, your father, as proud as could be. You were loved the moment you were conceived. A devoted brother, your unconditional love will never be forgotten. A loving grandson, memories of holidays and special times. A nephew and cousin, admired and adored. A true friend, companion, and confidant. We all loved, believed in, and learned from you, Nick. Most important, Nicholas, you have made an impression on all who knew you. Your memory is everlasting in our hearts." That does it for us on this exit. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give us a thumbs up. Leave us some comments. And a special shout out to our VIP Road Warrior patron, the Crip Lady. Thanks for your sponsorship each month. We greatly appreciate it. And thank you for watching this video. Any final words you'd like to tell?
I mean, it was sad that it happened. I mean, because he was 15, he kind of got caught in the crosshairs of something that he had nothing to do with. But I'm at least glad they were able to find his body and give him a proper burial.
Yeah. We'll catch you guys down the road at the next exit.
Keep it spooky.
Later.